everyone and welcome back to All About Steph 1 with me, Steph. It has been a very long time. I hope you're all doing well. But in today's video, we're going to be getting into some F1 season predictions ahead of the season opener in Bahrain this weekend. Before we get into it, this is your reminder to go and follow me on all of my social medias. Go on Instagram, Twitter and TikTok because I will be posting a lot about my exciting life updates that are coming this year and the exciting things that I'll be getting up to within the industry. So make sure you go and follow me over there to get updated first hand. This video is obviously coming out post-testing, so we've seen a little bit of what's been going on, seen kind of whereabouts roughly the cars are, but I will be taking testing with a pinch of salt, and you should also take these predictions with a pinch of salt, considering none of us really know what's going to happen this season. None of us know who's going to be at the front, who's going to be at the back, so yeah. Let's just get straight into it. Firstly, we're going to start off with 5 bold predictions for the season to come. Number 1 is Carlos Sainz will get his maiden victory this year. Now, that's not that bold, but I guess bold prediction 1.5 is that it will happen at his home Grand Prix in Spain, which is at the end of May. Bold prediction number 2 is that Charles Leclerc will win the DHL pole position award for the most pole positions picked up throughout the season. We know he's a fantastic qualifier. We did see it in 2019 when Ferrari had a competitive package, and I genuinely believe we're going to see it again this year. Bold prediction number 3, now we're getting bold. I think we're going to have a final race showdown again, and there will be mathematically at least 4 drivers who are capable of winning the championship by the time we get to Abu Dhabi. Number 4, we're going to see a double AlphaTauri podium. There's going to be a crazy race this year. We've had crazy races every year, and this year, these boys are the ones that are going to adapt. We're going to see Pierre and Yuki on the podium at the same time. Just you wait. Bold prediction number 5, this is very bold, and I think there are going to be 7 different winners throughout this season, which is a hell of a lot for Formula 1. If we were talking Formula 2, it would make sense, but no, 7 is a lot for Formula 1. I'm not going to name the 7 drivers I think it's going to be. You guys guess in the comments who you think it is. Let's start off with the Constructors' Championship, and I will preface this by saying I don't think we'll have any teams that finish the season on 0 points. I think everyone's going to get points this year. Yay, finally. In 10th place, I've gone with Alfa Romeo. I think the lineup of Guan Yu Zhou and Valtteri Bottas might be one of the weakest lineups on the grid. Valtteri Bottas might struggle a little bit entering the midfield again after being in that Mercedes at the front of the grid for 5 years. Guan Yu Zhou, obviously a rookie, so he's going to take time to adapt to the car, but what a better time to come in than with some new regulations. So I'm excited to see what they'll both do, but unfortunately someone's got to go in last place. In 9th place, I have gone with Haas. I really love the new lineup of Kevin Magnussen and Mick Schumacher. Haas definitely said last year that they were focusing on the 2022 season rather than developing their 2021 car, so I'm hoping they've managed to get a head start and put a lot of resources into this car, and from testing, it looks like it's a solid package so far. In 8th, it's going to be controversial. I've gone with Aston Martin. The car doesn't look like the easiest to drive, and both Lance and Seb have been struggling with it. With all the managerial changes as well and the restructuring that's been going on within the team, especially Otmar leaving, I do believe that this team is going to struggle a little bit to find its feet in the 2022 season, and it is going to drop back in the Constructors. In 7th, I've gone with Williams. I do believe in the lineup of Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi. Unfortunately, I don't think they will have made sufficient strides to jump ahead of 7th position, even though I do think there will be several point scoring opportunities, potentially even odd podiums here and there. I think Williams is on the right trajectory and is definitely moving forward. From 6th onwards, we're getting to the difficult part where I think these cars will be very, very close together. But I've gone with Alpine. I do think Fernando Alonso is still at the top of his game. He was driving extremely well in the 2021 season, and I think he will be the top driver in that Alpine car. While I think Alpine will do a good job, I just think the other teams that are going to be ahead of them are going to be a little bit better and edge them out. In 5th, I've gone with AlphaTauri. This might be quite a bold one as well, but I think the combination of Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly is a really strong combination. Yuki's had that year to settle into Formula 1. While they do look like they've been struggling a lot with porpoising, I genuinely think that they will be able to overcome those struggles and do some really great stuff this year, so I am firmly on the AlphaTauri hype train. In 4th place, I have gone with McLaren. Yes, they have been suffering with some problems, technical problems throughout testing, including overheating brakes, which is a pretty big problem to have, but I have no doubt that they'll be able to overcome those issues and be able to compete with the top 3 teams as well. In my opinion, Daniel Ricciardo is going to be performing much better this year and hopefully be closer to Lando's level, even though I do think that Lando will be the leading driver of that McLaren team. So we've made it to the podium positions, and in third place I have put Red Bull. I do think that overall this looks like a very, very complete package. Both Verstappen and Perez look like they have got a good grip on it. Again, it's not like I think Red Bull are going to be bad, I just think the two teams ahead of them are going to be slightly better and edge them out. The toil for first and second place was a very difficult one, and I've finally gone with Ferrari in second and Mercedes in first. Honestly, I think you could swap these two teams out. I would not be surprised to see Ferrari in first at the end of the season and Mercedes in second, but I think these are the two strongest lineups on the grid. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc are extremely well balanced. They're so well matched in terms of their abilities. I think they're the teammates that are closest in abilities on the grid. Whereas in Mercedes, we've got Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, and his brand new teammate, George Russell. George is going to take a little bit of time to warm up in that Mercedes, I believe, but I think this is definitely a formidable pairing as well. Mercedes have struggled in testing, but I think they're the team that's best equipped to overcome their technical issues and end up with the best package by the end of the season. There you go. Either or, who's going to win it in the end? I've gone with Mercedes, but I guess we'll see at the end of the season. Time to move on to the drivers' standings, and we are just going to talk through the top 10 because 20 drivers is a lot to get through. But for your information, these are the drivers that I would have placed in the bottom half of the standings. Some key points to pick out. Guan Yu Zhou is at the bottom. I do think that is just because he's a rookie. I think the Alpha is going to be one of the worst cars on the grid, so I do think he will struggle. Valtteri Bottas quite low down as well. He tends to struggle when in that midfield pack with his defensive driving, so I do worry a little bit that he's going to struggle and be swallowed up by those drivers who are more used to being in the midfield and know exactly how to drive there. These drivers align quite nicely with the bottom 4 or 5 Constructors teams, so I do think it makes sense when you look at the overlaps. But let's talk about top 10, and in 10th place I have gone with Fernando Alonso. He's one of the most adaptable drivers on the grid, has driven for several teams, has all that experience, and I think he's going to take to these new regulations quite well and definitely beat his teammate quite convincingly. In 9th, I've gone with Daniel Ricciardo, and I wish I could put him higher because he is one of my favourites on the grid. I say that, but I have too many favourites. Everyone is my favourite. It's a problem. He did struggle last season in the McLaren. Fortunately, there's a clean slate here, brand new car, brand new regulations, but I still don't think he's going to get it in the same way that the drivers ahead of him are. P8 is Pierre Gasly. He's been on fire in the last couple of years in F1. I really do think it will continue. It's going to be a continued trend. Once the AlphaTauri gets their technical issues under control, I think Pierre will be able to extract the maximum out of that car. I don't know if we can say that he's going to be best of the rest because it's difficult to say what's going to be a front-running team and what's going to be a midfield team, but I do think he's going to be right in the fight with some of those drivers at the front of the grid, including Carlos, Lando, Daniel, Sergio Perez, the likes of those. In P7, I've put Sergio Perez. Now, the evolution of me becoming a fan of Checo has been stark because at the beginning of this channel, I was not a fan, and we've got to this point where I'm rooting for him so hard. He did well in the Red Bull last year. I think with this new car that he would have aided in the development of, it will be easier for him to drive in this car as it's not totally geared around Max Verstappen. Moving on to P6, I have put Lando Norris. This was a really, really hard one, and I was definitely struggling with putting him P6 or P5. At the end, I've gone with P6. I do think that the drivers ahead are going to have better machinery. I just think it's the way the cookie's going to crumble this year. P5, I've gone with Carlos Sainz. He had an incredible debut year for Ferrari, and while I do still think he's going to do some incredible things this year, I do think Charles Leclerc will be better, and we'll get onto him a little bit later. But yes, Carlos Sainz, P5, he's going to have a really solid year. In P4 is George Russell, just missing out on a podium spot. He will be on the pace of Lewis, especially in qualifying, because we know how well George performs on a Saturday. Unfortunately, I believe the lack of experience that he has at the front of the grid will be to his detriment when competing with the front 3 drivers. And speaking of the front 3, let's talk about the podium. In P3, I have gone with Max Verstappen. Ooh, yes, I don't think he's going to regain that title at the end of the year. I do think he's going to have a fantastic year, you know, extract everything he can out of the Red Bulls, but I have complete faith in the top 2 drivers to outperform him, even though I think it's going to be a very, very close fight at the top. In P2 is Ferrari's golden boy, Charles Leclerc. He will be very, very competitive this year. We know he's got absolute raw pace, especially in qualifying. He had a lot of bad luck last year, and as a result, Carlos Sainz was able to beat him in the driver's standings, but I do think that Charles will beat Carlos this year. And as you may be able to tell, my prediction for the winner of the Drivers' Championship in 2022 is going to be Lewis Hamilton. I think this is the year he's going to get his 8th. We've seen Lewis Hamilton adapt after he has lost titles, for example, coming back to win it in 2008 and also coming back to win in 2017. However, I think this year is going to be completely different because there are going to be multiple drivers at the front of the grid that are fighting for championships, in my opinion. And so it's going to be a difficult one for him, but I do think he will prevail and win that 8th championship. Okay, we have reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Do let me know your opinions in the comments down below because I love to see how they differ, especially coming into this brand new era of regulations, which is just going to be completely different. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe down below. If you turn on that bell notification as well to be reminded when I post, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!